Well, greetings, my fellow Xers and YouTube watchers. I was sitting here going over the YouTube account looking, because recently, things have been moving along and doing okay. And a video from about 6 months ago got a sudden push all of a sudden, where several thousand people a day all of a sudden popped in and seen it after it hadn't been touched in quite a while. Now, they'll say it's the way they run the analytics, whatever, I don't care. What I wanted to talk about was it got a push. And there seemed to have been a series of comments on there and some other ones and some direct messages I got that were calling it the bullshit video. Now that is the one about the dark side of the Gen X childhood. Claiming and thinking that they didn't buy any of it whatsoever. And here I thought that I was actually keeping it tamer than it really was and leaving out all the really, really dark stuff. Which got me to thinking, why is it that every successive generation does not believe the older people when they tell them what things were like? I mean, we heard the thing with our parents, you had to walk to school. It was 5 miles both ways, uphill, going home, doing your homework on a shovel because you couldn't afford a kitchen table, all that type of stuff. So why is it that every successive generation does not believe that the older one actually had some trials and tribulations and tough times that they went through? Why is it that they always think that they are the only ones in trouble? They are the only ones that have it rough, and it's always the worst it's ever been for you. Now, did we think it was the worst it ever was when it was us? No, because even with the times that we had and the things we had, there were people that always pointed out there are others that got it worse. And that was the one thing you always had to remember. No matter how bad or shitty your world is or your life is, there's always somebody who is a little worse off, who is suffering more, who has less to eat than you, who has no home whatsoever, let alone a home they might lose. Or, you see it everywhere. So why is it that younger people don't believe? They think that older people haven't gone through anything. Now, there does become a disconnect as you get older. You sometimes tend to forget how you thought when you were younger. I've tried very hard not to forget how I thought the world was and how I seen the world when I was younger as opposed to now. I mean, when 40 years goes by, 45 years go by, you definitely see the world differently. 100%, because experience in life changes your viewpoint. It changes the way you see things. You experience things, you learn lessons. Things that were hard aren't hard anymore. Things that weren't hard become harder because, you just slow down. So what does that bring about? Why can't they connect and realize that you can learn something? You pay attention to the older generations. You can learn something. You don't have to sit there and just blame everybody for everything. I mean, now it's a lot of blame. It's so you guys didn't do anything. You didn't care. Gen X didn't care about anything, and you just cared about yourselves. We had to care about ourselves because nobody else did. Did that create an issue down the road? Yes. Should we have done something different? Sure. But we were kids when we were set on that path. And as others, when you were a kid and you were set on a path and you don't know any different, that's the one you go down. Is it an excuse later in life to keep being that way? No, because as you get older and you experience things and you learn lessons, you smarten up and you don't repeat them over and over and over again. And this is something that younger people need to learn. As you get older, you can no longer blame what happened when you were young on what's affecting you today. I mean, everybody now is mentally ill. I don't believe that most of these people have these issues. It's become a crutch. It's become an excuse in order to not do something or to be afraid of, I can't do this because I have anxiety. No, people are afraid of failure. Most of this stuff seems to come when people are all of a sudden not 100% in bubble wrap and protected from everything negative in the world anymore. All of a sudden they can't do something because they suffer from anxiety. Well, that anxiety is so crippling and everything. Well, no. It's a fear of having to be responsible. The anxiety is brought on because people are afraid that they're actually going to fail at something in the world, that they are going to go out and do something and realize that they are not as special as their parents convinced them they were, that not everybody is going to love on them, not everybody is going to help wrap them up and keep them safe and prevent them from every type of ouch there is. No, the world is mean, it is cold, it is frightening. And yeah, there is anxiety when you first go out on your own. I remember when you first get out on your own and you get your own place for the first time. It is awesome. You pay your first rent, you pay your first bills. This is great, but they keep coming. And sometimes work just isn't enough. And then all of a sudden you start to realize, man, I got to have friends. I got to have roommates. People got to stay with me because this is expensive. This sucks. Here I thought it was going to be great. I was going to get on my own. I was going to get my own place. I'd be able to go out and do what I wanted still. I'd still be able to go out and party all the time. But no, I got bills to pay. I got rent. I got power. I got cable TV or streaming services or all the stuff now, cell phones and all that. And it's like, well, I got to work just to pay my bills. Everybody's got to work just to pay their bills. But it is real frightening when you first go out on your own and go, well, how does anybody get by when I spent all my time working just to pay the bills and I can't go out and enjoy life and have as much fun as I was prior to this? Because you get smacked with the harsh reality of life. The world is cold and reality is harsh, but it's not bad. You learn to navigate. You become stronger as life goes on, and stop using things as a crutch, because the crutch becomes an excuse. And then you sit there and you use it and you start to believe it and you convince yourself that it is such a debilitating thing to be anxious about something. Well, no, having a little fear is not a disability. It keeps you focused. It keeps you aware. Having some fear will help you get through things and get you through life. Having fear in certain situations will prevent you from being a victim because you'll be aware, but you can't become paranoid. You can't become so afraid of everything that just the fact that somebody walks by you causes you to panic and you run off and you go hide in your room and you want to call the police. You want to call the police because somebody is selling a bottle of water out of their front yard. Or calling the police these days because the kids have a lemonade stand. Everybody is out of control. Everybody needs to take a step back and relax and quite simply mind your own damn business when it comes to a lot of things. Which leads me to a serious pet peeve of mine. Okay, I get annoyed enough when people sit there and they go out in public and they pick an argument and the first thing they do is they pull this thing out and they figure because they're holding it up and viewing the argument through the phone that all of a sudden it's some sort of magic shield and they can't be hurt or hit and everything is 100% perfected and they're correct because they're the one got it on their phone and they're watching it. But then you get the other people that stand off on the sidelines that right away have to watch it through their phone. Why? They want to record it and they want to show somebody. Why? What really is the purpose other than the fact that you want to record that so you can look at it and go, thank God I'm not that idiot. But you're just as big an idiot for standing around and recording it on your phone. Now, I get specifically for one thing if you were recording something specific. Okay, someone broke into your house and you go in and you've seen that your house has been trashed. As you're walking in, you sit there and you record it in case you move something. That is an evidentiary thing. You want to keep evidence. Using a phone to take quick pictures at an accident. If you bump into somebody, yeah, you take pictures of the dent, the damage, your car, their car, and you take a quick photo of a driver's license and insurance, and you got the information, you're on your way. Useful damn tool. But to think that it is some sort of special protective shield when you pick it up, and I know I've said it before and I've complained about it before, but really, people just don't learn. It seems to me you will have people sit there on the phone and say that I recorded it, so I'm in the right, and they'll swear to God that they didn't do anything, and then you watch the video they recorded and they'll have hit the person first, but still somehow they are convinced that they're in the right because they were the one holding the phone recording what was happening. That as long as you were behind that phone, you were some righteous, glorious figure that can't do any wrong. And yet I'd argue to say in 90% of the time, you're the one doing the wrong, because a phone doesn't do anything but escalate an argument. And the next person pulls their out. And then everybody's sitting there going, well, I got you recorded and I'm recording you and I'm going to prove it. Well, I'm going to prove you're wrong. You're not proving anything except you're a couple of idiots, some super douchebags that got to get on their phone and record a whole lot of shit that makes no sense whatsoever. Which is another one, is why the hell are people recording themselves in gyms? I'll watch all them videos. I'm not going to talk about these crazy ass women that do it in order to actually point out that some guy is staring at them. Everybody, all of a sudden, everybody thinks it's their right to go into a gym with a camera and record themselves. And yet in the beginning, there was an issue that when they first started putting when they started putting cameras in cell phones, one of the first things people thought of was the etiquette in gyms and locker rooms. How are we going to prevent people from taking pictures and recording in these places where there's not supposed to be any pictures or recording? All of a sudden, somehow, people seem to think they are entitled to record in these places. When did that shift happen? Did the shift solely happen when people could record themselves doing absolutely nothing and put all these fake workout routines online and think that they're going to make a bunch of money, when all they're really doing is, most of them, when it's the women, turn around and have some sort of OnlyFans or some other porn page somewhere? They almost all do. Check them out. You look at them, you do. A lot of the off-grid ones, and you got all these, and you can always tell who it is because it's always some hippie guy with dreads that runs around barefoot. And then somewhere in there, they always show his woman always doing yoga, and they always got to have the close-up on the ass. So, half of it is garbage. It's absolutely trash. Which makes me sit there and go, has it become worse? Information, when people talk, I'm going to get into the information, misinformation thing now. People talk about information, misinformation online. And when they do, they talk solely about government or news that affects the government. Information comes out that makes the government look bad. They call it misinformation. No matter what, whether it's correct or not, whether it's right or not, they declare it misinformation or a conspiracy theory. Right? If it can be proven correct somehow through some sort of evidence, they call it a conspiracy theory. If you don't have the evidence yet, but someone's calling them out on it and saying, I know the evidence is there, I'll find it, and they're like, it's misinformation. They spin it however they can. But I think the real misinformation is the shit that's out there that's being pitched as real, as people doing things and polishing it off as some great little thing they're doing. The young people are watching these videos, especially the TikTok videos and the short YouTube shorts and all that stuff, where they're like, today in my life of this, and I did this, and I did this. And most of it, it's completely fake. You watch it and none of that is in the same day. There's a video recently where a lady put out, and she's talking about, and she's showing the one video, and the person's showing how much they spend in a day all the time. And they said their routine that day and what they spend. Well, when you pause the video and zoom in, you can see the dates on all the receipts are from all different days. So therefore, clearly it wasn't what they spend in a day. Or they say, I've been saving all these, simple thing like one, I've been saving my honey jars from honey all month in order to do this. Well, no, you weren't. Nobody goes through 12 jars of honey in a month to begin with. And two, straight out got busted. She dumped them out on the table in the packaging from the shipping from Amazon, when you can buy them in a pack of 12 or 16 or whatever it is, empty, ready to go to fill with your own honey. It's that type of thing that gets it today in the world where you can't believe anything. Nobody can believe anything anymore. And that is the worst part when it comes to our kids. And that might be when it loops me all the way back around to the beginning of this. Why is it that successive younger generations don't believe older generations? And it is even worse now. They don't believe. And it's probably because they are in a world of complete fantasy. Everything they see is manufactured and fake and artificial and doesn't actually exist. And yet they are taught that it is what is out there and it's what they are supposed to be. or they're not good enough. And that leads to a lot of these anxieties. And then they go out again on their own out into the world and realize it's harsh and cold. It's too late. They did not learn. And they weren't taught fast enough. And they weren't taught soon enough. And they have serious problems when they go out in the world and they go out on their own. I know I started in the beginning, changed to another subject, changed to another, and circled all the way back. I flow with the conversation. Anyway, this is Drac saying until next time, stay safe out there and peace out.